She has directed prestigious agencies and managed high-profile portfolios and is known for her London Standard of Distinction. With over 50 awards, Miss Sylvia has trained 750 plus professionals across UK, UAE and Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. An entrepreneur, she co-founded a PropTech startup and launched an award-winning investment app. Now she leads Propology, focusing on future-proofing real estate professionals and brands. I request Ms. Sylvia to kindly join us on stage, please.
Hello, everyone.
Next, I would like to welcome the panelists to the stage. First, I would request Dr. Majid Zurub, Chief Technology Officer, Future OS, to join the dais. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, to our first panelist. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to invite on stage Ms. Anisha Sagar, Director of Property Management, Allsop and Allsop Group. A round of applause, please, to our next panelist. Welcome, ma'am. Now I would like to welcome Mr. Bilal Moti, founder and chairman of Windmills Group. A round of applause, please, to our next panelist. Welcome, sir. Next, I would like to invite Mrs. Stefan Heckmott, CEO, Evrai Management LLC. A round of applause, please, ladies and gentlemen, to our next panelist. Welcome, sir. Now, I would like to invite Mr. Michael Hunter, CEO from Holo. A round of applause, please, to our next panelist. Welcome, sir. Finally, I would like to invite Mr. Aaron Summerhill, co-founder, Holo. A round of applause, please. Welcome, sir. Thank you so much, everyone. The podium is all yours.
Thank you. And we're going to take you all the way through to lunch. So I'd like to thank my esteemed panelists for this interesting conversation following on from Yeldar's presentation, and something he said was real world impact. Now I'm going to have a little rant now, a personal rant about technology and PropTech. Now I'm a huge PropTech advocate. I did co-found a PropTech startup. I've been in the real estate industry for 20 plus years, and I've been in the UAE now for 9 years, nearly a decade. And I'm on my 4th move, and you all know how stressful moving can be. And when I look at what I'm going through now, it doesn't appear to have changed much since a decade ago. So I'm really interested in having a conversation more about the real world impact, as Yeldar put it, and how PropTech is actually affecting the consumer, reaching us, whether it's a question of adoption, whether it's a question of engagement, but the technology is there. It's just, is it reaching the consumer? So just in case we're not up to speed on like the latest of trends right now, I'd like to ask the panelists what PropTech is currently out there that we should be keeping an eye on, that will transform not just my journey, but also the home buyer's journey, and which areas are ripe for transformation. So I think maybe we could start with Anisha, because it's closer to my rental woes as head of property management at Allsop and Allsop, one of the largest brokerages in the UAE.
Yeah, so I think there is a lot out there. And it is about enhancing the customer experience. We've just recently, at Allsop and Allsop a couple of years ago, released Data Hub. So that allows buyers, tenants, landlords, sellers to make better decisions on data transactions. And I think from our perspective, we are giving the data there this is what it's transacting at a lease price, this is what it's transacting at buying or selling. So you're able to see all of the recent transactions over 180 days. But that's one part of giving the data to the consumer. I think from a property management perspective, we're trying to streamline things in terms of giving direct debits and giving easier payment methods to the clients. But it is trying to get tenants, landlords to adopt it, because let's face it, Dubai is a little bit backwards. And we've been used to checks for a long time. We've been used to WhatsApps, emails. So it's really, really hard to integrate, obviously, CRMs, giving the data backing, but to enhance the client's, obviously, experience. But I think it's, like you said, it's all out there. It's now getting everyone to adapt it, and for real estate brokers to enhance it as an enabler as well.
Because when I whipped out my checkbook, I was like, oh, again, I had to look at how many checks I had remaining in the book, but yeah. Okay.
Yeah, and I don't remember where my checkbook is, but yeah.
Anybody else want to take this question?
Hi. So I think from the technology side, coming from sort of company that looks at PropTech and urban technologies as well. So we look at from maybe the B2B side, and maybe that's where a lot of the technologies, and especially AI, is coming to fruition. In our case, we look at AI, IoT infrastructures, and computer vision, and how that would sort of elevate and push the the user experience, maybe the visitors or tenants, to the next level. So, technologies. We deploy IoT infrastructures, not for the sake of just monitoring, but actually so that you can pull data and provide insights. Maybe, we have sort of AI models that do root cause analysis so that it simplifies and improves the operational efficiency or FM efficiencies of buildings. So that's, I think, where a lot of the technology is coming online, and in the urban tech. So people may not realize, but a lot of the cameras in public spaces are being used for actually anomaly detection, safety of people, not just for they're not actually used for facial recognition, they're actually used for safety and the well-being of people. So that's, I think, where a lot of the technology is coming online. And also on the front end, so we have technologies where now, virtual tours have been very complex to use. You needed specialist cameras, a specialist crew. Now you can go with your sort of phone and go and capture a little video, and you can reconstruct the space. So it becomes a lot easier to visualize spaces. Very, very sort of, end-to-end life cycle. But I think these things are at pilots now, and you will start to see them over the next couple of years.
Hello. Well, first of all, thank you very much for inviting me. It's an interesting question. How are consumers looking at the real estate market in different capacities, being it as an investor or a tenant, or different capacities? Well, I think gone are those days when I made my first investment in the real estate maybe 25 years ago. The only source of reliance was the broker's word. And they would say, yeah, it's a great property, and a good price and great location and everything. And it was only the element of trust at this point in time on your brokers, and say, okay, fine, I'm going to make a decision or not. And even if you want to make some more checks from the comparison point of view with other brokers, it's still very limited. I think gone are those days where we have to rely in any capacity on only one particular source. There is so much of data available about the real estate markets in general, on different segments, on different tensions and perspectives. And there is so much of awareness available also in for different kinds of consumers. So yes, there are many, many tools available for all stakeholders, as said, tenant, owners, property managers, facilities managers, valuers, borrowers, a lot of data. So we will not get into this. But if I talk about it from the valuation perspectives, our clients, which are largely institutional and corporate clients, and in the case of institutional clients, there is an underlying customer. The customers have become quite aware of what's happening in the marketplace, thanks to the availability of data and a different PropTech and AI tools for. So it definitely puts a pressure on us too, to ensure that we don't only take care of the major needs of the customers in terms of time management, cost management, reliability management, transparency management, and many other things. So we had to step into this much earlier than the understanding of the need of the end consumers, okay? So we started building our own PropTech 7 years ago. And it is still building because the consumer needs, the client needs are also evolving. So we are also pretty committed and say, well, we'll play this game and we'll try to be ahead of time. So yes, and valuations in our case, to be short and concise, has become quite automated, all right? It takes quite an educated guess automatically as to what should be the market value or the cost value of a particular property in a certain circumstance as of today. But yes, it's a game of a lot of data, it's a game of a lot of algorithms, it's a game of a lot of situation analysis, it's a game of understanding demographics of the people who are buying it, investing into it. It's a game of understanding the different trends and regularly applying that into your models in a way that you come up with a conclusion that your clients and the consumers want. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Stefan Ickmott. I've been living here 24 years. So to go back to the initial sort of remarks, yeah, obviously many things have changed in this city in 24 years, but you're right. It's still a very analog set of sort of or structure in terms of how you transact real estate and interact with real estate generally from a transactional point of view. There are some great digital systems that are out there, some great apps. I think there's been quite a lot of discussion today and illustration of data, portals, AI, instant valuations, lots of transactional related, digitally enabled processes that have come through apps and through technology online. But there's still one thing missing, and it's the biggest thing of the whole lot, which is actual transactions of property digitally end to end. It's not happening. It doesn't exist, not at scale. Why is that? I mean, it's the biggest asset class in the world. It's $400 trillion. It's the most prevalent, most prominent, most preferred real estate or asset class in the world, real estate is. And you've got stocks, bonds, bills, cash, commodity trading, all very, very, very digital. Cash is exceptionally good in digital today. Property is terrible in digital today. Why is that?
I think Michael could probably tell you that because I know Michael's very big on the PropTech ecosystem, and the problem with our industry is that there are so many stages. Now, I know Holo is solving for the home buying journey, which Aaron, you can tell us about, but if Michael, you could start by telling us if there's any issues in the ecosystem that need to be addressed.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us, first of all. And I'd like to reiterate what you said, Stefan. A lot of people look at the home buying process and they fix small parts of this process. One of the issues certainly that we see is how do we fundamentally bring these together in an ecosystem that can complete that whole transaction. So you might have a solution that enables a buyer to understand their buying power better. That's one part of the transaction. But after the buyer decides how much they're willing to pay, they sign agreements, really the hard part starts. So that's when they go into the transaction. You've got valuation companies involved, and you've got banks involved, if it's some mortgage transaction, NOCs with developers. How do you create a portal that includes everybody into that one transaction to create a seamless process? Now, we're not just talking about a local problem here. We're talking about a global problem. This is something that you see in the UK, the US, India. How do we create a platform that integrates everybody into the same process? And I think a difficulty we may have here in the region is trust. We need to build trust within the market. We need to work with stakeholders together, build that trust, the momentum. You know, what would be the point in us building a valuation tool when there's fantastic tools in the market? That's something we'd love to work together on. So for us, it is about bringing everybody closer to the transaction, becoming that one point of truth, and that's really how you're going to save time in the transaction. You're not having multiple stakeholders with opinions trying to drive the transaction in a certain direction.
Thank you for that. And if, Aaron, you could tell us how Holo
You're not
is
getting a mic.
reshaping the home buying journey.
Yeah, you get two of us from Holo today, so you're very fortunate. Look, I think the issue that we've got at the moment, we're all in a lot of the kind of the WhatsApp PropTech groups and so on, and I think it's sometimes a case of just because you can build it, should you really go down that route? Are you actually going to be adding any value to the customer, or are you just building another product that's going to be pushed out there? And it's great. Look, I was talking with Stefan earlier, and the market's been booming for the last 5 years. It's brought a lot of people into the industry here, which is fantastic. Some great ideas, some great products come into the market as well. But some of the ones that you see, is it solving a problem? Is it replicating another product that's out there? What is actually being done here? And I think, as Sylvia was asking, like within Holo, we started off as a digital mortgage platform. And one of the problems that we had was we were very, very good at that. And what that resulted in was we had a lot of approved buyers. Now, we didn't have a real estate arm, so what were we doing? We were sending hundreds of approved buyers out into the market on a monthly basis, saying, go and find a property, come back to us once you have. That didn't work. It was a massive roadblock for everybody. So then we're, okay, we've got a lot of contacts. We've been in the market a long time. Let's give 100 buyers on a monthly basis to this big real estate agency. Surprisingly, we never heard anything back. They couldn't contact any of these 100 buyers, and that was that done. So we started to look at, okay, what can we do? How can we digitize the journey beyond the mortgage? And that's where the hub product that we have was born, and it was a case of then linking our approved buyers to the real estate market. So we were allowing real estate agencies, also agents, to register for the hub, and then if an approved buyer in their area suddenly gets approved, it gets pinged out. So we have a new approved buyer for 2 million in Executive Towers in Business Bay. And that whole thing was about, as Michael was saying, bringing everybody kind of closer together, growing that ecosystem. We don't want to start a valuation company because there's great companies doing that. I don't want to start a real estate company because there's great real estate companies there. So what can we do to bring these people together? And I think that's it. You've got to assess what the market is. I think sometimes you've got to do a lot of research if you're launching a new product. So is this something that helps our customers, whether it's B2C, whether it's B2B? Are we solving a problem? Are we going down that route? And I think sometimes things get built before people actually have done that kind of research and said, okay, is what we are going to build going to actually benefit people? And obviously we've always kind of gone down that route, to a lot of Q&A before we go and build at Holo.
And you've touched on something quite important there, is that you had like hundreds of ready-made leads or approved buyers each month, and they weren't getting properly serviced. And I also, recently in my journey, went on Property Finder, reached out to maybe 10 agents and only heard back from 2. So there's a lot of ghosting that goes on. And I mean, this can kind of lead us into the AI talk, because I would have expected by now I'd have come across a chatbot or had an AI conversation. But where is AI going to fit into this journey? Or, what areas are ripe for transformation, would you say?
So I think...
Defend your department.
I'm going to defend. I think we either get on the road of AI or we get left behind. And I think if you look at most real estate companies, they are investing in PropTech and they are investing in AI, because if they don't, they definitely will get left behind. And it is to make the consumer's journey. There should be something in place where all the leads are getting serviced and getting serviced properly, but how can we use AI to enable that? And I know a lot of real estate companies will think that, okay, investing in PropTech is a dead investment because they're not seeing the results initially out of it. But I think if a real estate company or property management company are not investing in PropTech or AI, they will get left behind in this market. And looking at ways you can use data to back it as well, but also improve the consumer's journey. It shouldn't be that you should be ghosted. It shouldn't be that only 2 agents got back to you. It should be that that lead is serviced properly. And we're looking at solutions of how we can make that process more streamlined and better.
Okay, thank you. Well, it's not uncommon what you said, because, and it does not also reflect back on the brokerage companies, because they're also trying their level best. It's just that the magnitude and the volume of business is so much that sometimes the proper priorities get diluted. So I'm not a broker, so I can't answer the question from that perspective. From the valuation company's perspective, I must say that we thought about that. Say, hey, if a client gives a phone call to us or sends an email, does he get the proper response? And do we have an efficient and effective mechanism to convert that inquiry into a valuation deal? So, of course, at one hand, we build our systems in a way that, right people, right processes, technology and everything. But there's one thing that I'm very proud of, is that perhaps is the only valuation company, maybe I'm not aware of other valuation companies doing this, so apologies for that, but maybe we are the only valuation company which provides the valuation service electronically. So for example, if you want to value your property, you can go to our website, apply for it there, put your details about the property documents, and system will tell you, how much does it cost, what do you expect. You can sign the terms of engagement electronically, make the payment electronically, and maybe in few hours your valuation is ready. So this is extremely, extremely necessary, and not only for valuation company today, but also all kind of real estate property services company to attend to the clients in that particular way. Because if we look at the competitive pressures today, we have no choice. We really have to do it. We have no choice left. And it's not about only a competitive pressure towards objectivity of the customer or time, cost, quality, but it's also time to think about value addition. And a value addition, because otherwise if you don't do it, somebody else will do it. So PropTech and artificial intelligence is a very, very good answer to develop the value for your clients. One last quick comment. I must also appreciate, to be very honest, we all have international experience working with different governments, authorities, real estate authorities in the world, buying and selling properties. But I must really appreciate the way the local governments are going smart and intelligent, smartly about the way real estate transactions are happening. I just bought a property in Ajman last week. Forget Dubai is also definitely superior, but even Ajman surprised me the other day. So we bought a property. I went there as a buyer and a seller and the 2 agents and available. Everything happened on the spot through online mechanism. And so my token number, I arrived at the desk based on my token number. You wouldn't believe it was a matter of 1 signature only. It took us less than a minute to finish it, and it's done. And they say in 2 minutes' time, you can see your title deed on Dubai Rest under your ownership. So very impressive. Congratulations.
The contribution from the technology side. I think it's very important. I think there's some very good points mentioned here, but also we shouldn't forget that the valuation is also not just at the beginning of life of the property, but it's an evolution. This property might be resold. So the asset management is very, very key. And this is also something that AI is really contributing to. It's not just at the beginning of life where the transaction is happening. New metrics are coming online, like the smart index with RERA, and how these properties are being managed. And this is where AI can start to pull this information of the data coming from these IoT systems that are connecting all these buildings, understanding how how these buildings are managed, how the facilities are operated, so that these metrics can maintain the valuation of the property and keep the high standards of the buildings, not just at the first sale, but maintain the value over life.
Can you tell us a bit more about threads? You mentioned
Threats.
Was it threads? You said something about the iPhone, the new
Yeah,
iPhone.
no, no.
Can you just educate
yeah,
us
we were
on this?
discussing something about it's not just the technologies is happening at the building level, but it's actually also at the home level. Smart homes, there's a lot of sort of developers talking about smart homes. It's a very tricky and very complex situation, because I think another talk was describing smart. You cannot guarantee what will happen in 2 years' time with the smart home technology. This has been a very big challenge over the past at least 10 years. Smart homes. How do you define a smart home infrastructure in a master plan for a developer over 5-10 years? So one of the efforts that we've been working on with Expo City is how to enable the homes rather than make them smart home at this moment. Is what should they have to make them compatible or future-proof? Whether it's the correct wiring, putting power points to the potential smart blind, having the right infrastructure to support the IoT or smart home gateways. So, for example, there's a big drive over the last 1 or 2 years to have the new technology called Matter and Thread. Matter, I think very recently, Apple announced the iPhone 17, and now it's actually supporting one of the smart home technologies, Matter and Thread, which means now you don't need dedicated hardware to support your lamp from Philips Hue and your Nest sort of air conditioning controller. You have something that you're carrying with you at your phone can do this, and this is not just a drive from Apple, but it's across the whole ecosystem. Thread is device and manufacturer agnostic, so it's a protocol that can sit in smart homes and enable you to add and tailor it to your own personalization, which is very key, because I might like I don't know, an LG washing machine, but someone else might like something else, but you still want them to cooperate together in a home.
Okay.
Okay, so question was about AI, right? Well, I think we're all using ChatGPT, Gemini, similar things. And I think we read in the news that we're sort of just getting started, AI. I think we're experiencing that as well. I mean, if you look at ChatGPT, there's the agent mode now, there's operator mode, where it'll actually do functions for you rather than just tell you information. It can actually manage processes for you and start to actually conduct things you want done, which is pretty remarkable if you think about it. What it won't do, probably, maybe it will, is actually control systems, certain systems or certain functions. So what I was talking about earlier was the issues of property. Property, if I may just say, has one thing that it doesn't have that all the other major asset classes have. And if you solve that problem of what it doesn't have, it actually, by design, solves every problem in property. And that is a digital custodial system to hold the real-time data of property. Now, you think you have that, right? You think you've got listing sites, you've got lots of digital out there, and you've got a land registry. But the problem is you can't access directly all the buyers and all the sellers of property. They're not plugged in online in real time, accessible, like technically cash is accessible through all the banking network, and someone can click a button and send their money anywhere around the world in 5 seconds or whatever. So until you solve that problem, which is actually solved, we've created a platform which solves that problem, and Hollow also a partner with us in that system. You're not going to solve the fundamental issues of fast transactions and actually creating liquidity and solving the problems of a very frustrating process of lots of checks and lots of intermediaries, which, with all due respect, possibly are becoming far, far more unnecessary with the advent of AI.
So, I mean, the traditional mortgage and property transaction process is very slow and paper heavy, albeit far quicker than in the UK. So I think UK transactions could take about 18 weeks to complete. Aaron, how are you using technology to speed up the journey? And is there any AI involved?
There is. What's interesting for ourselves is we've kind of took a long time to assess where AI needed to fit within the journey. We've all seen kind of AI chatbots out there and so on, which is kind of a kind of extravagant version of a Q&A on people's websites. Everything that we've built on AI is actually for internal use. So a lot of this is to look at how we can speed up the transaction and the processing behind the scenes for the customer. I think the initial launch that we did was one of the kind of big blockers we've always had. We've all taken loans out and applied for financing, any kind of products here in the UAE, and you get a PDF sent across with an application form with 60-something pages, and you've no idea what you're actually supposed to do. So it goes on the coffee table and it sits there for 2 weeks and you don't actually apply for anything. So the whole idea of what we were looking at was integrating AI within that journey to speed that and take away the cumbersome element for the customers there. So within the Holo platform, you upload your IDs, your salary documentation, bank statements, etc. And the system then extracts all of that information, pre-populates your chosen bank's application, and you can do a digital signature on that. So that's something that we were finding was actually speeding up for some of our team weeks of chasing the customer. In some cases, they were having to actually manually fill out the application with a customer face-to-face because they didn't know what they needed to be doing. So again, the customer on the application doesn't actually see that stage, but they kind of fall into that as they go through the journey. And the other element that we've launched recently is an internal AI agent. So for our real estate guys, for our mortgage guys, if they're driving down Sheikh Zayed Road, they can ask their phone to generate a proposal for a certain customer, the 3 cheapest fixed rates on a 2-year fixed rate deal, send it through to their customer, and it generates a PDF and is sent through to their WhatsApp within 30 seconds. Same for, we've got some of our concierge guys who are dealing with the real estate here. So if they wanted a instant comparison of Arjan versus Marjan 2-bed units, then we can do instant proposals and send that through to customers as well. So that's something that the customer benefits from, but it's not something that actually speeds up their journey from the outside in. So that was a decision that was made from us. It's like, we're going to benefit as a company because everything goes through the funnel a lot quicker and a lot smoother, but then the customer will benefit in the long run because they get an instant information that they request as well. So look, AI is a great tool. Again, I think you have to be very cautious of how you use it, because is there a benefit case for what you're actually sitting down and doing?
So we'll continue the AI conversation, because if we're, let's say descriptions, property descriptions are now written with AI. The photographs are photoshopped with AI. You've got valuation companies or data that's kind of something happens with AI, and then the mortgage process is digitized, signing is digital. Are we eventually going to see the extinction of the role of a real estate agent? Hands up, any real estate agents in the room? Or an enhancement of their role? Go on, Anisha.
I think so if I look at it from a property management perspective, I was speaking to a client about 6 weeks ago, and they said to me, they love meeting me and speaking to me and speaking to a person. Now, obviously, they love all of the enhancements we've done in providing them technology. There is AI, but I do think the value of having someone who you trust and is a specialist in their area also counts. I think AI should be used as an enabler and as an enhancement, but should it take away the human touch? I don't think so. And that's, having that agent who's selling you maybe a 30 million dirham property, are you going to trust AI, or are you going to trust that expert and specialist in that area? Yes, it should enable them, and there should be enhancements, and they should be using technology in the right way. But from a client's perspective, they want to speak to someone. We have a CRM system where tenants can submit their maintenance requests. They still want to speak to a human. They can obviously contact us through the app. They can see everything on the app. But that human interaction they need. And same with landlords, same with sellers, same with buyers. So I do think it is obviously making sure we enhance the real estate industry and enable it rather than completely remove. I don't think you could just have an AI bot selling you a very expensive property, but that's my opinion.
Could we?
So, no, I think, you know, I sort of agree with you, but, you know, AI is not really something, you know, standalone. It's going to be embedded in all our technology suites. Everyone is using it, you know, both sides, the buyer, the seller, the real estate agent. So I don't think it's something we should be sort of scared of. It's something we should all adopt and move together. You know, I always use the analogy of the industrial revolution. This is the AI revolution. You know, people were farmers and they started to work in factories. So I think AI is just going to shift. Maybe the role of real estate agent might shift slightly because the tools they have and the tools people have are different. So things will evolve. Just like how, you know, property is being managed, just how, you know, Photoshop is evolving. You can get open source tools now that can edit images the same as Photoshop. So even pricing models of things have changed. The whole technology is evolving, and you know, we just have to be conscious of what the AI is doing and how it's serving us, so that we know, you know, what the next step is really.
So, go ahead.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think as well, it's a situation where companies that were formed who were kind of AI-based 2-3 years ago had a standalone product, and then AI in general can catch up, and then it kind of overtakes what they were offering as a standalone product. So we've seen a lot of companies being launched all the time that are offering a certain benefit, but you've got to keep evolving. It's not a case of, right, we have a product, that's it, because soon the main models are going to catch up and be able to do what you do free of charge in any case, and then you become defunct as a business. So it's like, okay, we have product A, how does that develop? Do you go into kind of a wider suite of products, or you just keep evolving what you have as a core product? Because look, it's moving that quickly. You can't just rest on your laurels and go, okay, we're an AI company, because you'll be closed down in 6 months at this rate.
Would the real estate experts, their role will be diminished or reduced, or they will be given higher responsibilities? That's the question. I personally believe that the human intelligence can never be taken away from any business. It's always needed. However, the PropTech in the real estate industry and the artificial intelligence is definitely going to address those minority elements of incompetence, minority elements of non-ethical behavior. And to a large extent, marking ourselves to the needs of the consumers in the market. So I think that particular space is going to be definitely impacted by the PropTech and the artificial intelligence. And I think rightfully so, because we have a choice. Either we close down our business because we did not move on with the technology, or we review the way we work in terms of our people, our process, their competence levels, their ethics levels, their efficiency levels. So there are two choices only, which means no choice. Just do it. So yes, there might be some people or some characteristics of the people that might be impacted, and I think that's for the better of the industry and the organization. But I think overall, I keep telling my colleagues as well in the company, because we are crazy about automation and technology. We would like to see everything automated, literally everything automated. And it's never a task for a particular period. It's an evolving process. And we are also learning out of this exercise and doing as much as we can. But I always tell my colleagues, please never be scared of the fact that the technology automating your function or enhancing or enhancing the deliverables from you is going to replace you. In fact, the idea is that you should let the technology do the basic work, administrative work, and you upgrade yourself towards more analysis and decision-making processes. So I think artificial intelligence in particular and PropTech in general is going to only add more capacity and more capability in the organization rather than replacing people.
And just with the fact, I mean, we touched on it earlier, the ghosting of leads, and you said yourself, Bilal, that, you know, there's so many inquiries, not everyone can be dealt with. There's a lot of money being left on the table by brokerages, by businesses. So for PropTech in particular, what are you finding could be the barriers to adoption? Like, agentic AI exists, the robots exist, the smart chat exists, but I didn't experience it, and I'm yet to experience it. So what do we think are the real barriers to adoption?
Okay, so there's one problem in real estate, in my opinion. I'm going back to your previous remark and question. You know, if you want to sell a property today, what do? You call a broker. What do? Take your details, they put the details into a system. That system goes on to Property Finder, Bayard, other channels. There's a severance of the direct link of the actual seller data because it's being inputted by third parties. Imagine a banking system where all the data on who has any money in any accounts is all inputted by third parties. So the interoperability digitally of real estate, the transactability of real estate can't happen while you have that system. That's the bottom line. Now, will the real estate agent role transition? Absolutely. People need good advice. People need hand-holding sometimes, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So I don't think they're going to be obsolete, but their roles and their sort of functions will change. I mean, let me put a rhetorical question out there. How many people use a travel agent today? Right? You know, maybe for business travel, but I don't use it. I use Booking.com, right? Everyone pretty much does that. When I got married a few years ago, I spent $5,500 on my honeymoon, Booking.com. You know, I would never have done that 20 years ago. We were sitting here in a panel session about that. I would have said, never, ever going to happen, but it happens. And, you know, in this day and age, you've got Gen Z generation. They expect to rock up at a property, use their mobile phone to enter it, go and have a look around, click buttons, it all happens. They do not expect, frankly, and they don't really want anything else other than click buttons, and it happens in nanoseconds. So that's the world that we're going to. Remember my previous remark, it's a $400 trillion asset class which doesn't have that digitalization. That, in my opinion, is the only holy grail opportunity if you want to commercially make money in this in the property world, because the system I've just described doesn't exist anywhere in the world. Zillow, Property Finder, all these other platforms, with all due respect, have a problem to scale or transition into this new model. Why? Because the hand that feeds them is the broker. Rightly so. It's a great system here. It's not a broken system. The brokerage system here, they do a fantastic job. Not discrediting them in any way, but there's utter, total inefficiency when you have to have a third party inputting the data. And that severance of that data link in that way just creates the, as I said earlier, if you just had the direct feed of seller and buyer into a transaction system, let's call it property market exchange, then that actually solves by design all the transactional problems of property, period. Every single one of them, by design. You know, obviously you've got to build out the tech, etc., like these guys are doing a fantastic job of. But that's the fundamental issue, in my opinion, of the industry.
Just to add, totally align, totally agree with you. I think there's a very big issue across the whole end-to-end sort of supply chain and life cycle, the common data formats. There is no common data format for the building to talk to the user, for the real estate to upload the information, and it becomes very siloed. So all the experiences of AI are at that application level or at that data set level, and it's not across the whole platform. There is no common bus to push all this information from you know, streaming your, someone mentioned air quality to the real estate. If you had that transparency of the data, then the AI agents can actually start to communicate with each other. These MCP servers can understand the same information and provide you with proper insights. The insights is very siloed now.
All this technology is sounding extremely expensive and complicated to build. So having just announced a very successful Series A, Michael.
Thank you.
Congratulations. You're going to need outside investors to build this, to fix this problem. What would you say is the current investor sentiment toward the region and towards PropTech?
Yeah, I think we were very fortunate. The access to capital at the moment is very difficult. You know, there's probably quite a few people raising funds here at the moment. I think it's really important to have built a very, very solid business, something that we built with purpose from the very, very beginning. It's not 2022 anymore, where you would burn at all costs. At that point where people were, we decided to take a slightly different route, and that has helped us here and now. In the funding round that we just closed now, what that round has done for us is validated not just us as a business, but validated the PropTech market. So this is opening up to everyone else that is looking to fundraise. There are investors that are interested in investing in PropTech. And you're right, it does require capital to create these expansion plans. For us specifically, we have a very solid UAE business model. However, this then allows us to go into other markets such as Saudi and build further products as well. When you start looking at building AI in various different ways, it isn't cheap. So for us, it's been a very exciting time. The announcement is great, but what's more important is what we're going to do with it. How are we going to look in 12 months' time as a business? So that's something that we're really excited for.
And Stefan, you raised a very important group of people talking about Gen Z. And I mean, none of us are Gen Z. I don't know. I can't see it. Is anyone Gen Z? Oh, there we go. Well, we'll ask you, what's your attitude to buying real estate? Because I'm not so convinced they're going to be as on it as we were. So are you interested in buying real estate? Yes or no? Student for now. So would you be thinking crypto and that sort of thing? Oh, say again? All cash, okay. Do we have a problem coming up where Gen Z are possibly not interested in real estate as an asset class?
I'll give an example. Speaking to my younger brothers, my dad historically has been in real estate. He has built a real estate business. You know, he's a property developer. My Gen Z brothers are not interested. They want him to sell off the properties and buy Rolexes and crypto. So, you know, and speaking to obviously a lot of younger cousins or friends, or even speaking to people on my team who are Gen Z, that is not their priority anymore. And that's what I'm seeing. The buyers we're seeing come through are not between 18 to like 35. They are 35 plus. So yeah, I'm skeptical whether the Gen Zs are interested in real estate or property. I don't know.
Especially if we don't keep up with technology at the pace that they're expecting.
Yeah, and they're very impatient. So if I look at Gen Zs on my team, they are very impatient. They do want things to happen now and now. And obviously what Stefan said, maybe they are looking for some sort of digital platform, or, you know, what kind of budgets are they going to be looking at, and are they willing to spend?
Can I jump in on this one? I've got a slightly different take. I'll take the UAE market initially. I do agree Gen Z is not as interested in buying properties. However, something we're really proud of within our company is the amount of Gen Zs that have now bought properties. Having been in the industry, understood it. But then when we look further afield, we're looking primarily at the UAE right now. When you look in other economies such as Saudi, you know, Saudi's looking at Vision 2030. They're really hitting towards the goal of 70% home ownership. The next goal for them is to go after the lower generations. to get them on the property ladder. Now, it's a very different economy. The economy that we have here is very diversified. You know, we have 10% locals, 90% expats coming from all across the world, and a lot of difference of opinions. Whereas when you look at an economy like Saudi, which is a relatively stable economy to some degree, where that has been built into you at a young age, but that is supported from the top down. So, you know, you have initiatives like 2030 Vision where their goal is to increase home ownership. The final pillar of that is to go after the younger generation with gifting of land and whatnot. So I think when we look at regions like that, I think that it is important there's technology to drive it, because a lot of people have been educated in the UK, the US, so they want to use a platform that makes it very, very simple for them. They can be having a shisha at 12 o'clock at night and apply for the home finance. That's something that we do believe in. So here in this region, I think there's maybe a bit of education. I think as a business, we wouldn't want to go into the education space. It becomes very, very expensive. But for us, I do think other regions are focusing more on that side.
I'd like you to get your Q&As ready. We will be moving to the audience very shortly, but just want to wrap up with each of the panelists just saying what their, you know, advice to the audience on what they should be doing, how they should be adopting technology or adapting to technology in real estate. Whoever wants to drop some golden nuggets.
I think we mentioned quite a lot, spoke about a lot of topics, but you know, not to be scared of AI, adopt it, but be cautious of how you use AI, and especially the open platforms online. Maybe start to look more at AI models that are more private. You know, redact certain information when you share it with you know, the platforms, the online platforms. You know. The data that's being shared in these models is actually used to retrain these models and used to learn the data sets, because I'm not sure if people are familiar or are aware that, you know, we've almost consumed all the data that's out there in the AI models existing now. So there's a huge hunger to find new data sets. So you know, new data sets are also very valuable now. They actually have a value. If you can generate streams of data, it's very valuable to consume. But technology will be part of this, AI will be part of the stack of everything you use, from, you know, streaming data from your air quality sensor all the way up to facilities management, all the way up to, I think, you know, our colleagues here mentioning, you know, the whole supply chain. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the one thing we've got to be cautious of is not to disregard technology as a whole and all focus on kind of AI. Holo, AI is probably about 30% of our technology roadmap at the moment. We're always sitting down and looking at gaps we can fill and make the process more streamlined and more user-friendly for everybody, whether it's our partners, whether it's our consumers. And I think we've got to focus on PropTech rather than just Prop AI, because there's a lot that people can be doing without kind of getting completely blinkered. And we see more and more of this as you're raising funds, to kind of touch on there. A lot of our investors are getting pitch decks, and all it is an AI play. A lot of it isn't actually AI, but they're dressing it up as normal technology as AI. So I think, look, there's more than enough use cases, thousands of different things that we can be doing with technology across all different facets of PropTech in general, that, yeah, let's see what we can do with AI, but let's not get kind of crazily hung up on it.
Good advice.
I think we're so lucky to be in the UAE, because we have so many, if I look over the last 11 years since I've been here, we're so lucky. The Dubai Rest app, the Jari, Diva, it's evolved. So the country is evolving, being more smart. So it is up to us as, you know, brokerages, valuation companies, mortgage companies, to evolve with the technology that is available to us. The UAE is evolving with what is available, you know, from the transaction. A title deed is electronic. Probably, I think 5 or 6 years ago, you'd have to get a physical title deed. So I think, you know, everyone evolving with the technology available to them, because the UAE is doing the same.
And it is kind of setting the pace globally. We're talking about, you know, Dubai being the Silicon Valley of PropTech. So, you know.
Yeah, and I think, you know, for companies to evolve throughout that and use, you know, the technology that the UAE and the setup and the foundations that they are laying, because they are doing a lot for startups, for fintechs, for PropTechs, for real estate brokerages. So I think we just need to evolve with them.
All right, so I must confess that I have an extramarital love affair with technology, always. And I am seriously infatuated by real estate market. And these two love affairs and infatuations are continuing for the last many years, ever since I became senseful. My few pieces of advice is buy a home, because buying a home is the smartest investments you can ever do. Stop renting.
That's
Buy
for you.
a home. I'm not saying do it now. I'm not saying do it with ABC company, but I'm saying do it. 1, 2, PropTech is not a matter of choice. Artificial intelligence is not the matter of choice anymore. We should replace all our administrative, basic, unnecessary work by PropTech in the real estate industry, and let the market decide through artificial intelligence tools and guide us what to do in terms of investing, buying, selling, renting, or whatever it is. It's extremely, extremely necessary as far as I'm concerned. My last small piece of advice is never ignore the importance of valuation when you get your hands into property market.
Yeah, I think we need to talk about that. No.
Okay, so, well, we need to create the digital systems that engage the Gen Z and all the generations to come. So what are those systems? Fundamentally, they are relationship-based systems, not transactional-based systems. So what does that mean? If they need to own the whole domain of someone's brain around a certain subject. So if I want to travel for business or for leisure or anything, booking.com. Okay, so many portals at the moment in real estate do one thing, a mortgage, or they do, there's only 2 buttons if you download the Property Finder app, right? There's only 2 buttons you can press. Do you want to buy or do you want to rent? There's no relationship with a homeowner. There's nothing there, right? In terms of, it's a transactional platform. So the Gen Zs of this world, I believe, want a platform where it's the go-to for everything around that domain.
Well, maybe they'll move on to fractional ownership, which is coming up. There's a couple of fractional ownership companies.
Well, look, your property needs change, right? And it's a lifetime journey. I may want to rent this property. I may want to sell it in 2 years' time. I may want to refinance it. I may want to do other things with it, right? So you need apps or platforms like, just shameless plug, but the one we've created, and we've also got Hollow embedded into the app, but it's the go-to for everything property wealth. So everything you can activate or have delivered in 20 seconds around everything around your property wealth, including instant valuations, or if you want a full valuation. So that, I believe, is what people want. They want apps that are the go-to for everything around that. And that's the $1 trillion app, we believe, that property is missing. Most other faculties or areas have that. E-commerce, there's Amazon. Banking, we all know the banking apps. We all know Binances and things of this world. But the really $1 trillion sort of property app needs to be relationship, needs to own the whole space. That's my opinion.
Michael?
Please, yeah. I think I'm going to keep this one quite high level. And what I'd like to touch on, there's been a lot about AI. And AI, we've got to remember, is only about 3 years old. And prior to that, we had large language models and automation. Now, we've all worked and continue to work in the fastest growing real estate market in the world. And that's something that we need to consider when we're looking at AI as well. There is going to be products that are made that may not work. There is going to be products that are made that will work. We just need to continue that mentality and that love for the real estate market that we all have to work to find the best solution for what it is we're all doing together. And that goes back to the point I mentioned earlier about collaboration and trust. That's something that we really need to work on in the market.
Brilliant, thank you. And you mentioned your You've had your go, haven't you?
Yeah, no,
you had
I
it.
concur with Michael, that's fine.
Okay, any questions from the floor? Hands up. We've got nothing. Have we got anything to give away?
You can have your
Yeldar,
jacket
you've
back.
set the pace now with bribery. Any
Sylvia.
questions? Hello, Mohammed.
So I have a bee in my bonnet, actually, which I thought I'd get off my chest as well.
Go ahead.
And it's PropTech, the word PropTech. And that, to me, is part of the issue, I think, in Dubai, where we've decided that PropTech is more transactional. And you can see that in the panel. At the moment, the majority are from the transactional side of PropTech. But PropTech is all about the life cycle of the property. You're buying a property, you're living in it, you're going to be there for a long time. Why do we continuously ignore that side of it? I know, Dr. Majd, I know you've attempted a few times to explain that side of it, but can we make sure that when we are in Dubai, and that's probably part of the issue with the investments as well, that we're focusing on the transactional side. But there are other parts of PropTech that people are interested in, building efficiencies, building better, even the context side of the PropTech in, side is often ignored. And I think the transactional piece is the easier piece, and there's a lot of targets that are being set in terms of 2030, we want to get to $1 trillion transactions, etc. But what about quality of life? What about well-being? And I know Ismail mentioned that earlier on. Why are we not addressing that bit?
Very good question. Maybe because there's not enough money in it?
Well, thank you very much for raising that question. It's an extremely pertinent and important point because we all are representing a particular business. But you're absolutely right. I mean, it's a life cycle. And the PropTech's involvement must be there from not only right from looking for a house for buying or renting, but throughout the cycle of actually living there till the time you sell it. So it's absolutely necessary. We are talking about not only brokerage or valuations here or smart homes here or smart offices here. Even sustainability are the issues, which are definitely a very important consideration for PropTech. And not only that, but how do you look at the healthcare? The health and safety mechanism. Can that be addressed by the PropTech in terms of the air quality, the quality of lights, the type of lights, and many other, the gardens and everything, which can add up to your health. So definitely the scope has to cover, the PropTech's scope has to cover the whole life cycle. I agree.
Do you want to say something on that?
Totally aligned. I think this is maybe some of the points. I think people maybe forget when they buy a property that they have to live in it for at least 10, 15 years until maybe their mortgage ends or they want to sell it on. Management fees, them reporting issues, them having to live with their HVAC unit or the FM company that manages the property. These are all things that even the buyer who might think that initial transactional activity is finished, they have to live through that property and then obviously sell it on. So the how it's maintained, how it's kept, the operational side of the property and its neighboring, the urban space around it is all key to maintaining that valuation and maintaining the if we were just talking about the value, it's maintaining the value of the property and reducing the, obviously, like for example, from our side, we do a lot of work on building machine learning models and AI to help with the predictive maintenance. So then you're shifting that cycle from reactive or planned preventative maintenance to predictive maintenance. So you're shifting that whole mentality of how people operate buildings. AI models telling you what may fail in a week's time rather than you being frustrated because your air conditioning unit is just blowing hot air, for example. These are all things that are happening and starting to come online.
Yeah, I think as well, just to kind of clarify, there's companies within the region who are looking at that. I think we're all, again, I'm going to go back to these PropTech groups we're all in. The problem is a lot of these solutions come with a very high cost. If you haven't gone out and raised funds, then it's very hard to take these out to market. You then look at the VC market within the region, and of course they like what they know. We've been very fortunate in that they understand the transactional markets. So to go to the investor and say, look, we've got something new within the PropTech space, but this is more away from the transactional side of things, I think that is probably what is limiting these companies coming through. It's not that there isn't a desire for it, there isn't that the companies do not exist, it's just, is the funding available for these startups to really go and take off? And that's probably the blocker more than anything else, because I'm aware of lots of great companies who've been on kind of incubators with us in the past who had heat absorbent paints, etc., that they were pushing forward, but there just was not the VC funding for specialist startups of that nature. And I think that is a problem regionally. If you go into Europe, America, etc., my assumption is it will be a bit easier.
Europeans and US, they love sustainability. Do we have time for one more? One more question? Do we have time? Okay. One more question before. Yes, Eamon.
Hi, thanks everyone. So what I'm not hearing about PropTech, and I know the space quite well, as those of you who know me know, is distinguishing between PropTech as a tool and PropTech that delivers profitability. And I think it's worth hearing your insights as to whether there is much profitability in PropTech, because at the end of the day, if it's just a tool, and I get it, then there's already solutions that are out there, and I don't think that property companies should race to build their own proprietary tech, because it's not monetizable. And whilst, yes, it may deliver efficiency and improve profitability, it in itself is also potentially a capital drain. And I've seen this 1,000 times with companies that are making decent revenue and generating decent profit in the transaction space, the advisory space, whatever, and then they start to look at how they can automate for the sake of efficiency, and they go down that road where they're throwing money at tech, but they don't know what they're building, they're getting taken for a ride, and ultimately they're wasting resources. So, thoughts?
Eamon, did you answer your own question there?
I mean, I gave it an insight, but...
Okay.
You like to throw the curveballs. That's definitely the case.
Yeah, you
so
know
do you
me.
want to...
Maybe just a couple of points here. So I think in our experience, we used to manage smart city IoT platforms, and we totally agree with you. They're very costly. If they don't have a purpose, the overhead of managing a smart city or an IoT platform for a building, for example, is very, very costly. So the shift is more towards use cases now. What are you trying to solve? And then you build the infrastructure to tailor to that specific use case, rather than have a smart city platform or smart IoT platform for the sake of having that technology. So totally aligned. I think the shift now we're seeing is more use cases. I want to solve, let's say, predictive maintenance. I want to reduce the cost of having an FM army to just be on standby to do planned preventative maintenance, for example. Yeah. Okay, so interoperability.
Can we just...
Yeah.
Can you repeat that so I can repeat?
So maybe if I'll repeat the question, is that this technology already exists, why repeat it? I think, for example, one of the challenges is, yes, you may have, for example, the siloed offerings is one of the challenges. There's no interoperability between these technologies. For example, you may have a lift, let's say said lift manufacturer having their own machine learning model for their own lifts. This might not be applicable to a lift in another building that you might be managing 2 buildings. So then you have 2 licenses to pay for example. So interoperability becomes a problem. What if you had a machine learning model or predictive maintenance model that could be applied across all device types?
Thank you. We're going to have to wrap that up now. We're being hurried off stage for lunch. Thank you to my esteemed panelists for an engaging conversation. Hope that answered a lot of your questions or opened, made you a bit more aware of what's...
Just one more question, please.
Are we allowed? Sorry. We're going to be having lunch, so feel free to come up to whoever you want to pose a question to at lunch and get your question answered. Thank you very much.